How was the classroom like? How are the conversations like? How is the networking like at ISB?
I think it was pretty solid, the perspective that you get. So when it comes to diversity, I feel it was one of the most diverse bubbles, if I may say, because there were only 500 people. All of them had different stories to tell. All of them had different experiences to share. Insane perspectives, insane experiences.
What are the packages like after ISB?
The market was bad this year. Last year's class, the average was 34. I think this year it might be a bit more.
Who gets preference?
I would say a lot of companies do not focus on CGPA because obviously when you're in a school such as this, everyone's smart. No one judges you on the basis of how you score. But if they want to filter, they will need certain...
Do you think one should take the GMAT if it's just a span of like 3 months? Do you think it plays an important role in the admission process?
What I wanted was I wanted to target an M7. I wanted global exposure. I wanted to be safe and I didn't want to depend on anyone. I wanted to solidify my approach and that's why I wanted to take the GMAT.
Coming back to you and your placement, how's the placement like? What stayed out for you?
Okay. Aseem, hi.
Hi.
First of all, thank you for doing this and taking the initiative to share your story with us and the students of Top 1%. I'd like to quickly sort of set the agenda, the intention behind this, and the format of this. Intention is very simple. A lot of people nowadays are sort of dicey about MBA करना है कि नहीं करना है, और अगर करना है तो बाहर से करना है कि इंडिया से करना है, ठीक है? You have gone to the Indian School of Business, you've taken the GMAT, done the ISB, now you're a management consultant, which is an ideal trajectory of an MBA aspirant.
Correct.
So we'll sort of dive deep into your journey, your story. कैसे शुरुआत करी, क्या MBA आपको करना क्यों था पहली बात तो? Because we have noticed that कई बार क्या होता है that people don't see something happening in their life right now and they assume that after an MBA it'll happen.
Yeah.
So what is that thing for you? We'll start with that as well. So I mean let's start over to you.
Right.
Why don't you sort of introduce yourself and tell us क्यों करना था MBA?
Thank you. First of all, it's an honor to be here and I'm quite grateful because Top 1% is the reason I went to ISB, did my MBA, and in that process it actually also helped me a lot understand about the different B schools, what culture is followed in different B schools. So I'm happy I could be able to give something back to those students. So yeah. Start करने से यार, so how it started was actually I was working. I was in consulting, but I was in tech consulting before this. I was in one of the big fours. And I wanted to do more of strategy work. I wanted to focus more on the business aspect, move on from the tech consulting. I was working with analytics on data, AI, all of that. And I wanted to align my career more towards the business and the strategic side of work. So tab, I think MBA started going on in my mind. Also, when you're working at these firms, there are a lot of people that you come across who are very smart, and I am sure there is no distinction, but a lot of them have this background which stems maybe a master's or an MBA, which I don't know if there is a distinction, but it actually helps them at work as well. It gives you more of a business alignment. So I mean, these were some of the reasons.
So you saw this at Deloitte, you said, na? The
yes.
work that you were doing.
Yes.
आपने देखा कुछ लोग वहाँ पे थे who had the MBA degree.
Who had the MBA degree, and there was a difference in mindset, if I may say so. The way that they did their work, the way they carried on with their work, how they understood what needs to be done, जो deliverables होते हैं, जो आपके requirements होते हैं, how their interactions were, how they used to think is one of the strongest factors which I felt they came with after an MBA. So these are some of the things. Plus Indian households में होता है कि थोड़ा MBA की तरफ सबकी inclination होती है, engineers की तो especially. So these were few of the reasons.
Okay. You got a 740 on the GMAT, right?
Correct.
But I understand you've taken the GMAT before you got the 740.
Yes.
That was a 670
before
you joined us.
That,
How was this journey of yours? GMAT.
Right.
When did you start? When did you take the test?
Right.
How was that jump from 670 to 740?
Right. So to give you a bit of context, I started working with Deloitte in 2021 of September, and I was there for a year. I was doing pretty well, but then वो एक MBA का कीड़ा आना शुरू हो गया था कि why not do an MBA, or maybe even as a long-term option कि MBA तो करनी है. And I was always, as a child, I was very focused that I wanted to study in a global school. I wanted to go to the US. So I obviously GMAT, GRE were one of the options. CAT also I was never inclined to, because having gone through the JEE aspect, which I did not have a great experience at. So I wasn't sure if I want to be in the same situation CAT mein, because it's very similar to JEE. There's so many people, there's so much competition, and a very paper-based exam, and a lot of rote learning is what I felt in the JEE. तो मुझे वो replicate नहीं करना था. So that's why the GMAT, the GRE made more sense, and I was targeting US schools. So that's when it started. And I think 2022 mein I started exploring some options. I started coaching for the GMAT. I started preparing for that. And I was able to pick that up because Quant though is a Quant हो जाता है सबसे. Quant's not really difficult. It's more about concepts. It depends how fast you can pick those concepts. So Quant was not an issue as such. Verbal में you have to go through RC. I give the classic version. So there's RC, there's sentence correction, there's critical reasoning. So you have to get used to them. That takes a little while. It took me around a month or two, and after 2 months I started giving mocks.
Okay.
So yeah, that was how it actually started.
But this was your 670 score?
This was my 670.
कितना टाइम लगा आपको प्रिपेयर करने के लिए to reach to a 670?
So I think 3 months.
3 months.
I was preparing for 2.5 months, and the test center that I was with, after 2.5 months, they assign you buddies who keep a track. वो तो हर जगह होता ही है. And on their mocks, I was doing quite well. I was scoring 720s, 730s. So I gave 3 or 4 mocks, and वो score आने लग गया था मेरा, and they were like, why don't you book an exam immediately? Which I did. And on the exam day, I went to the Percentile test center, and I was quite confident. तो मैं तो answer दिए जा रहा था. And that's when I gave the exam. I got a 670. So that was an eye opener.
What do you think could be the reason of it? Because we keep telling our students कि जो आपका mock में आ रहा है score, वो exam में गिरेगा.
Correct.
ठीक है. And we'll come to this part also. You would have seen the top 1% का mock are pretty difficult.
They're quite difficult.
Challenging.
Quite.
Yeah. But they sort of train you well.
They do.
So that the main exam is sort of a cakewalk. But anyways, so why do you think this happened? The fall?
Yeah, so I'll also come to that. So basically, when I was preparing with another test prep company and top 1%, there was also difference in the content, because content-wise it's much more difficult, and it's much more conceptual, rather than they don't try to replicate the GMAT के questions जो पहले आए होते हैं, but they focus more on concepts. कि ये question के 3 तरीके हैं, तो तुम ऐसे solve कर सकते हो. At the end, what I think is it all boils down to concept. People say कि exam taking एक skill है जो तुम develop कर सकते हो. I would say after my experience with Top 1, what I realized was you can actually get certain skills or learn them to be better at exam taking. Like I remember जब I joined Top 1%, the first course that I started with, the first module was reading comprehension. And Sandeep sir covered certain concepts, टोन को कैसे समझना है पैराग्राफ की, और मॉड्यूलरिटी कैसी है, ये सब विच एक्चुअली हेल्प्स यू. जब तुम पैसेज पढ़ रहे होते हो, तुम थोड़ा 10-12 पैसेजेस प्रैक्टिस कर लो, वो इंट्यूटिव हो जाता है. So even when you're studying verbal, there's a way to break down and approach certain questions. Even I remember when you were doing CR, so there are certain processes that he sets in place, that he tells you. He actually makes all the subjective thing also objective, where there is certain approaches that you take to solve questions. So जैसे assumptions कर रहे हो आप, तो assumptions में he would say try to negate it or try to not negate it. So there are certain skills which you can take to better your exam taking ability. तो वो I think बहुत बड़ा फर्क था.
Got it. 670 से 740 is a big jump.
Yeah.
ठीक है. Clearly, people struggle to even raise 10 points or 20 points.
Correct.
740 is a big jump. How much time did it take for you to prepare for the 740 after the 670?
2 months.
2 months.
Yeah.
So what you couldn't do in sort of 3 months.
Yeah.
Something changed in the 2 months, 60 days. You were at a 740.
Correct.
What was that?
Okay. So the first 3 months that I was studying, I knew all the content on all the questions that are usually there. But जब basics, मेरे basics थोड़े weak थे, right? So when you now I knew what the basics were, what the right things were to follow. So for the first month, I only focused on basics. I reached out to the top 1% faculty. I got on calls with them. We tried to analyze how I answer questions, what my process is. So I think यार सिर्फ वही improve करना था, because I was completely fine solving them. मुझे जो basics में approach है वो change करना था. And once you know the approach, फिर तुम इतने questions मैंने पहले ही practice करे हुए थे that I was new कि इसको ऐसे solve करना है. मेरा इंट्यूशन ठीक था, अप्रोच मुझे और सॉलिडिफाई करना था. सो आई वाज एबल टू डू दैट इन 1.5 months. एंड देन अराउंड 15 days आई स्पेंट ऑन सेक्शन वाइज जो मॉक्स होते हैं, आरसी के अलग, एससी के अलग.
From a mock portal.
Yeah, from your mock portal, Quant के अलग. I had to spend around 15-20 days there and 10 days of mocks. I gave 2-3 mocks, which I scored low than my actual score. They were actually a little tough or tricky.
Yeah.
So
when did you book your second test?
so I reverse engineered it. I reverse engineered. After I was done with my basics, and I just so one of the faculty members advised me to start taking sectional mocks to understand कि मेरे areas weak कहाँ पे हैं. Rather than going through the whole syllabus, they asked me to understand which sections I'm weak in. And वो जब मैं process कर रहा था, so they felt that I can take it in the next month. So then they gave me a plan for that month. But yeah, it was more like एक महीने पहले मुझे idea हो गया था that, and they also realized that I'm ready. I'm close to being ready for the exam.
Got it. Very interesting question. Okay, you keep seeing the success stories that you put.
Yeah.
760,
Correct.
735, 99%, and every other day there's some success story coming out. You would have seen. A lot of people think that top 1% ka course is meant for toppers only. Okay, people who are very high achievers. We don't touch fundamentals. We don't touch basics. You're saying that for the first 15 days, 1 month, you were doing the basics.
Correct.
With the faculty.
Right.
Just shed some light on that. Do we cover basics? Do we cover fundamentals?
Yeah, obviously you do cover basics and the fundamentals, because that's actually what helped me. जो आप बाकी कंटेंट की बात कर रहे हो, I was aware कि GMAT का पैटर्न कैसा होता है, कंटेंट कैसा होता है. What I needed work was on the basics, both on the quant and the verbal side.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's meant for top 1%. It's more of meant for people who actually work hard and they're ready to put in the hours. If you can do that, let's say what they mean by top 1% is if you're ready to put in that 1% of work every day. So if you can spend 2 hours every day, 3 hours every day for a few months, I think anyone. It's more about consistency, जो संदीप सर भी कहते हैं. So I think it's more about.
Were you
working.
consistent with your prep?
Yes. The second time around, I was much more consistent because that's what he focused more on.
Every day you had allotted certain amount of time.
Yes. Every day, on days where I was working, I used to. It depended, maybe half an hour, maybe 1 hour, maybe 90 minutes. But it gets you into the scheme of things. Weekends, more 4-5 hours I used to spend. But yeah, it's more about consistency.
Got it. While you were preparing for the GMAT, you were with Deloitte.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So you were working a certain
was
amount of hours. Must be like 12-14 hours, whatever.
Yeah.
And then you were preparing for the GMAT also.
Correct.
And then you did it in 2 months' time.
2 months.
Is there an advice that you would like to give to people who are working professionals and want to study for the GMAT, because they have a weird notion that they have to quit their job to prepare for the GMAT?
Look, I don't think you actually need to quit your job. Obviously, it makes things trickier if, let's say, I'm preparing for the GMAT while I'm working and I'm starting off fresh. तो मुझे 4-5 महीने लगेंगे. It's an optimal period, 5 months, let's say. And if I'm not working, I'll be able to do it in 2.5 months. It's more about the hours. It doesn't depend कि तुम कितनी देर कर रहे हो, कितने जॉब छोड़नी है, नहीं छोड़नी. And it's more about consistency. I've seen people जो जॉब छोड़ के भी करा है and they might not have been able to reach that score. And I've also seen people जो जॉब करते करते, including me, who was able to reach that score. पहले देखने में the future obviously looks a little tricky के काम भी कर रहा हूँ और GMAT भी है, but that's rarely not the case. I mean, that's not the case. You can actually balance both things.
Yeah. How was your experience on the exam day? Were you anxious? Were you stressed? Was there anything unusual? The questions may be unexpected or something like that. Did you find the paper to be difficult? What was it like?
I actually found the paper to be not that difficult the second time around.
Okay.
Because I had practiced at such a level that it seemed routine to me. When I was giving top 1% mocks, I was scoring in the region of 710, 720. और मुझे exam में भी ये लगा that these are the same levels. So I was like, I might get a 710 or a 720, but and even so with the GMAT, the more you answer, the more the questions keep on getting difficult, right?
Yeah.
And I remember the first time around, I thought the questions were getting difficult in 10-15 minutes into the exam, into the section. I think 60 minutes for every section, right? So, but here till the 30th, 35th, 40th minute, I could sense that I'm able to solve these questions fast, like in a minute. Verbal में 1 minute में हो रहे थे, quant में 90 seconds में I was able to sort them out, because again that was the process that I was following, which was helping me save 15-20 seconds in every question.
Got it. Very interesting. 3 things that you would like to tell people to take care of if they are sort of deciding to take the GMAT or are in the process of preparing. What do you think are the 3 things that they should do or take care of while doing it?
While preparing for the GMAT? See, the first one is, and I can't stress this enough, and I faced this once, that you have to stick to the basics and clear them. Don't try to speeden up the process कि हम अब आगे बढ़ जाते हैं. If you do the basics right, the next steps become a cakewalk for you. Try to spend a month, 40 days correcting your basics, because the questions are easy, but as long as you know the basics, you can solve questions really fast. So the one is basics. The second I would say is consistency. Be consistent even if you are spending 30 minutes, 40 minutes. And everyone at top 1% says that, which is also very true, because then you get into the habit of being intuitive. अगर तुम एक चीज़ बार-बार कर रहे हो, it helps you build that intuition in yourself compared to you taking a break, so you tend to get away from what you're doing. So I mean, that's the second thing. 2 basic things that I want someone to focus on are these.
There is a challenge that these students face, that we have seen a lot of students face, is staying motivated throughout their journey. There is some motivational driver in the students who have studied and taken the test and gotten the score, and students who are studying and 2 months down the line are studying, and then 6 months down the line are still studying, not taken the test. Where did your motivation stem from?
Yeah, so my motivation was, I remember while I was preparing, so I've been good at academics, but I never really liked studying for a long time. So I remember when I was working and I started studying, I was 23. I was like, in this year I have to get done with studies, you know, the whole GMAT thing, because B school studies are very different. That's not quant, that's not verbal, that's not science, that's not something you've been studying for the last 20 years. It's very different. It's finance, it's strategy, it's more of learning what the markets are doing, it's more of operations, it's more of tech. So that is something going into you would really be interested in. But though there is another aspect which I wanted to get done with, is like the whole studying part. So I was like, I have to get done with this year, and then I can just chill.
Okay. Do you think letting go of the test or not taking it at all and then applying is a good idea? Because a lot of people are doing it, right? They're going for schools who are offering waivers, or they're not taking the test, or they're waiting for some of their dream schools to probably stop accepting the GMAT. Do you think one should take the GMAT if it's just a span of like 3 months? Do you think it plays an important role in the admission process?
Is it about taking the GMAT?
Yeah.
Look, I think it's very subjective. To each his own. What I wanted was, I wanted to target an M7. I wanted global exposure. I wanted to be safe, and I didn't want to depend on anyone where a school might waive off, it might not waive off the test scores. I wanted to solidify my approach, and that's why I wanted to take the GMAT. Because it's a score that's valid for 5 years. So it leaves the ball in your court rather than in the university's court or the college's court.
Right.
You took the self-paced program, right? I think at top 1%, the data tells that a lot of students who have taken the self-paced course clearly have gotten a score, have gotten an admit in the time span that we have mentioned in the plan. They get the exact plan and everything. A large pool of audience is sort of worried कि यार अकेले पढ़ना, किसी लाइव टीचर के साथ पढ़ना is better, या फिर एक institution में जाके पढ़ना is better. Still the numbers tell a different story. You yourself have taken the self-paced course. It's very strategically designed, okay, which is why we're getting such brilliant amount of results and people absolutely love the self-paced. What is your experience with the self-paced? How did you decide on taking a self-paced? Because I think before this, you were with a live program and stuff. So self-paced में ऐसा क्या हुआ, या फिर आपको कैसा experience लगा that you got a 740 in 2 months?
Prithvi, I had a very good experience with the self-paced course. What it gave me was actually the flexibility to study when I could where I could. And again, as you mentioned कि आपके पास सारे data points हैं, and then you design the self-paced course after so many months of data from so many students. I just feel एक तो तुम्हें flexibility बहुत आ जाती है कि मैं इस टाइम पे सबसे ज़्यादा प्रोडक्टिव हूँ. लाइक आई यूज्ड टू स्टडी लेट आफ्टर वर्क, लेट्स से फ्रॉम 11 to 1 at night. तो उसमें मुझे वो फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी मिल जाती थी. 2 घंटे में बहुत प्रोडक्टिव रहने वाला हूँ. आई कैन पिक माई लैपटॉप, आई कैन वॉच दीज वीडियोज़ एंड बी कम्प्लीटली इमर्स्ड दोज 2 hours. लाइव में पर्सनली फॉर मी मुझे ये लगता था कि वन डे आई माइट फील लाइक one day I might not be as productive. There might be certain things that I might have to do. तो मुझे पहली चीज़ तो flexibility जो मिलती थी self paced में वो बहुत important है. Second again obviously self paced will have the best videos from every video.
Yeah, that's true.
And the third is it also depends on your efficiency. I'm not a person who would wake up at 10 in the morning and study for 3 hours at a stretch. I'm someone जो 1.5-2 घंटे वीडियो देखेगा and then he'll want to take a 20-minute break to freshen up things. So again that's efficiency that it gave you. So these 3 things I think really helps in a self-paced course.
I think we understand that every student when they are learning, right, have their own capacity and format in which they grasp the concepts.
Correct.
or whatever they are studying. वो आप फोर्स करके नहीं पढ़ा पाओगे. वो उनका दिमाग ही बंद हो जाएगा. 30 मिनट बाद 25 मिनट बाद उनका दिमाग ऑफ हो जाएगा. Self-paced course very strategically gives a plan, gives step by step exactly what you have to follow, but also gives the opportunity for the student to play around with their schedule and adapt our program to their life, right? So what advantages?
See, more than another factor is let's say we're talking about CR, ठीक है? अब CR में मैं assumption भी है, strengthening भी है, ठीक है? अब assumption मुझे नहीं आती, मैं concept सीख रहा हूँ, मैं questions कर रहा हूँ. From every 10 questions I am solving 6 correct, 4 wrong. तो मैं वापस उस कोर्स पे जाके देख सकता हूँ, ये कर सकता हूँ. नाउ लेट्स से आई एम सीइंग अ स्ट्रेंथनिंग का वीडियो फॉर एन आवर 2 hours. अब वो मेरे से 10 में से जो भी वो सॉल्व कर रहे हैं मुझे बिल्कुल समझ आ रहा है, मेरा 10 में से 8-9 सही जा रहे हैं. आई कैन जस्ट फास्ट फॉरवर्ड, आई कैन जस्ट लीव इट फॉर नाउ एंड सी. मतलब मैं कॉन्सेप्ट टेस्ट जो होता है आपका पोर्टल पे, आई कैन टेक दैट एंड इफ आई एम डूइंग वेल तो वो it also helps you fast forward things कि ये मुझे आता है, ये चीज़ नहीं आती, and play on your weaknesses. And strengths तो रहने वाली, you can focus more on your weaknesses and get them up.
Interesting.
A lot of people have this notion कि they have to have their next 10 years का plan clear before they jump to do an MBA. Well, what actually happens is you actually get to know your plan for the next, your life ahead during your MBA, maybe even after. ये ज़रूरी नहीं है that you have to sort of have your entire trajectory of the next 10 years clear तभी मैं MBA में commit करूँगा. What is your take on this?
I've always been a person who focuses on the next 2-3 years, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, because that's what's helped me. Like when I was in my undergrad, I knew the kind of job or the role that I wanted to go to. और मेरा सारा focus उसी पे था. When I was working, I realized I would want to get a global education. For the next 1 year, 1.5 years, मेरा सारा focus उसी पे था. Application कैसे strengthen करनी है. And I think life में you will never have it figured out completely. There will always be things which might change. Going into ISB, I wanted to go to a founder's office role. I wanted to move into the entrepreneurship space. But then I also got this offer at Accenture Strategy, and I also had another offer off campus at another at a startup for a founder's office role. But in terms of learnings, where it changed, I was like, I will go to a startup, I'll learn. I mean, that's still the plan, but now my trajectory has changed a bit, where I want to focus more on an industry or sector. I can identify problems there, and then identify that learnings in that specific industry rather than being a generalist. और वो मुझे MBA में आया है कि सबका अलग होता है. Some people want to start off as a generalist. I wanted to start off and create a niche for myself and then focus on helping or growing in that industry. So again, वो MBA में आया, and what I suggest is just focus on the next step. What you want to do in the next 1 year. If you're a student, focus on where you want to go, how you want to prep. If you're going into ISB, make sure you know what you want out of ISB. You will 80% of the time get what you want. People who I know who wanted to get into consulting went into consulting. IB वाले IB में गए, founders office वाले founders office में गए. You will get enough options, and then it's up to you to work your way towards them. But you have to be focused कि तुम्हें चाहिए क्या, why are you going, and what is it that you will get out of it. But those things again can change 100%. But you have to evaluate all your options going into that.
Okay, got it. Fair. I think we'll transition now to the MBA.
Done.
Okay.
That's
This is going to be interesting. You said that you were targeting the M7. In your conversation, you have not mentioned that you were targeting ISB. Okay.
Correct.
You were targeting the M7s.
Yes.
What changed that made you sort of target India and then the Indian School of Business?
Okay. To start off, I actually have some of my cousins based out of the US, so that was one reason why I always felt I wanted to go to the US, and M7 seemed like a safe bet where you could go, you could study there, and you could get a good salary. So all that's covered. ISB, it's not that it wasn't an option, it was the only option I had in India. And I had only two specific places, either be in India or go to the US. And in the US, again, M7. ISB, I never really focused as much because मैं बचपन से ये था कि US जाके get a good degree and just settle there. But I remember throughout my undergrad and while I was working, I realized even when you're in India, things really, like my perspective shifted about India when India was also doing really well. Plus I was seeing US में थोड़ा economy का there was a little global shutdown, and then I saw a lot of my seniors they had to come back, so there was a shift in perspective at that point. There was a change, there was a political change there, so there are a lot of factors, and ISB was doing so well at that time, so ISB was also started popping up in my list along with Booth and Kellogg. They were two of my schools that I was targeting in M7. So yeah.
Okay. So the uncertainty, whatever was happening, the economic situation, made you decide to stay in India.
Correct.
ISB was the only option in India because you told about CAT, why you didn't want to take CAT. Hence
Correct.
you left with ISB. You got a 740.
Right.
Did you think of going for another attempt? Because we've had a lot of students after getting a 740 to maybe get a 750, 760 or stuff like that to increase their chances of getting into their business school. So when you were applying to ISB, were you satisfied that 740 hai, I'll be able to get in?
Right. तो जब मेरा 740 I had not really thought कि मैं सिर्फ ISB apply करूँगा. M7 was still on my radar. But now I can tell you कि the GMAT is not the only thing that actually matters. Like let's say for a school like ISB, it won't matter if it's a 720 or a 740. It might to an extent, but they will also have a look at your larger profile. So once I was done with the GMAT, I was also focusing on other things, any volunteer work that I was doing. In terms of while I was working with Deloitte, I took up more ownership, so that ISB is looking for leaders, so they want people who have taken ownership, who have led teams. So I also started focusing on other aspects of my profile, because even all the M7, the global schools and ISB, they want people who are well-rounded. That's one thing that they really focus on, and that they're leaders. And leaders don't always focus on just one aspect. They have to take care of different things at all times. So I would say not really. I didn't really go for an attempt, but I focused on other things to solidify.
Got it. This leadership word is coming pretty often. So everybody has a strategy when they're preparing their application process.
Correct.
Okay, they have a narrative in their head.
Right.
कि मेरे को अपने आप को ऐसा दिखाना है. ठीक है? और this is the kind of position that I want to create in the adcoms, but about Aseem in this case, right? What was your strategy like when you were completing your application for ISB?
So my strategy was to stand apart. How that is when let's say B schools are selecting the profiles or the students that they want to take in. We've heard of diversity, and they want to diversify their student pool as much as they can. So what will help you is how do you stand out with your applications. अब आप GMAT की भी बात कर रहे हो, 740 भी बहुत लोगों का होगा, 760 भी बहुत लोगों का होगा, right? That's just one metric. Me going into the application process, I felt I need to stand apart from other people, where I can show ISB how I am adding value to the cohort. So again, for that, I had played tennis. I was a state player there. And then I was in the work that I was doing with Deloitte, I tried to show that. So it was all about creating that differential layer that you need to do to schools.
Let's start with the admission process. How does it start? What does it include? How was it in your case? I've heard that application process of business schools really impact the person who's applying, right? They
It
get
does.
to know a lot of things about themselves, the
Yes.
exercises, the reflections,
Huh.
the essays that you write. And then for those essays and reflection, you talk to other people.
Correct.
And you try to gain their perspective. What is it that you like about me or whatever?
Huh.
Who do you think I am?
Fair.
So yeah, I mean, please.
So I'll cover it from two perspectives. एक तो let's say ISB या बाकी B schools का क्या होता है? Mostly all the global B schools as well as ISB they have 3 rounds. Round 1, round 2, round 3. Round 1 around August September में conclude होता है. उसकी मतलब डेडलाइन तब होती है. और राउंड 2 की अराउंड नवंबर या दिसंबर. और राउंड 3 ISB की अराउंड जान या फेब के बीच होती है. पर जो US के स्कूल्स होते हैं उनकी मार्च अप्रैल के बीच होती है. ठीक है. एंड इट्स अगेन वही होता है यार कि यू हैव टू अप्लाई. इट डिपेंड्स व्हेन यू आर रेडी टू अप्लाई. राउंड 1, राउंड 2, राउंड 3. Most of the schools that I know don't really give let's say leverage to one round. Equally they check candidates across different rounds. So that's from a B school perspective. और when you said कि पता चलता है अपने बारे में, people get to know, and that is for sure because I remember जब ISB में मैं apply कर रहा था, they have this application process where you have to write your essays and they're very first person, they're about yourself. Maybe what are some achievements that you have done, या मेरा था कि how would you add value to the cohort. So that was another. तो ऐसे questions होते हैं where they force you to delve deep into your life, into your personality, and then answer that. So that's one. Second is वो पूछते हैं about your work, what is the kind of work that you do. आपके SOPs होते हैं. You reach out to maybe your managers or your leads. You talk to them, have conversations that this is where I'm going, and then they send certain SOPs or questionnaires to them to understand or know you better. ठीक है. So there are 5-6 different things as part of the application process, which is actually a little overwhelming. But then it also helps the person understand themselves better. I remember I had a great time understanding myself because I was also about to look back on what I've done, what I've accomplished, where I failed, what were my where I was successful. So I think the application process is really well structured if you take it in the right way.
About your class or the people at ISB must be very interesting. So
100%.
just people from different backgrounds, different roles, different jobs, businesses, entrepreneurs, tech people. That's so diverse, right? Tell us about that. How was the classroom like? How are the conversations like? How is the networking like at ISB?
I think it was pretty solid, the perspective that you get. One of my best friends out of ISB, he was in the media industry before coming to ISB. Another one of my friends, she was with NDTV before she came to ISB. We had journalists, we had lawyers. There were a few doctors on campus in our class. And ISB is one of the schools in India which places a lot of focus on diversity. And there were sports people who've played, represented India at national levels. There was someone who was working in politics. He was making strategies for elections for different parties. So when it comes to diversity, I feel it was one of the most diverse bubbles, if I may say, because there were only 500 people, but all of them had different stories to tell. All of them had different experiences to share. And that actually opened my perspective a lot about life. I was an engineer, worked in a corporate, who wanted to do an MBA. But I had come across people, someone who had come from the US, left their 7-year career there to move to India to be closer to family. Insane perspectives, insane experiences. Something I don't think I will ever be able to come across again.
Interesting. Okay. There is this situation right now where people are thinking that they want to do entrepreneurship. So MBA की ज़रूरत नहीं है. I'm curious, were there entrepreneurs or people who wanted to pursue entrepreneurship doing an MBA in your class or people around you?
Yeah, of course. So just to start it off, 2 of my batchmates, they co-founded a company straight out of ISB. I remember 4 months into the campus where everyone was stressing over grades. Obviously placements, which is one of the biggest factors at a B school. The 2 of them, they just got together. They said, we're co-founding a company and we're going to do it right here at ISB. We're going to start it here. Another one of my friends, she was a journalist. She said, I'm going to start my own company. she opted out of placements. A lot of focus on entrepreneurship. I remember the first day during our induction, one of the most senior professor comes up on stage. He's giving a lecture about entrepreneurship, and he says in the next 10-15 years, almost 40% of this class is going to be entrepreneurs. Yeah. And that's, I am not sure about other B schools, but ISB wants to be known for entrepreneurship. They have also come up with other programs that focus a lot on entrepreneurship. I've seen so many people in my class who opted out of placements want to be entrepreneurs. One of my batchmate, she already had a business when she came to ISB. In September, she started another venture. Being at ISB, she's just officially introduced it. She was maybe working in stealth mode at ISB, so she's introduced that on LinkedIn a few weeks back. So insane focus on entrepreneurship.
Understood. It's also known, ISB is also known for the network of investors, VCs, and the entire opportunity that you get, the entrepreneurs get to build something of themselves, right? Build a startup, build a venture, build a business, or have an idea, bring it to life. At ISB, what all opportunities do entrepreneurs get to sort of do this or bring their ideas to life if they want to pursue entrepreneurship?
So I remember at ISB, one of my first introduction or interaction with entrepreneurship was in the first or the second week itself. So we have certain clubs, right? Consulting club ho gaya, finance club ho gaya. Aise I was a part of the EVC club, Entrepreneurship and Venture Capital Club, right? So that was one of my first interactions. And it has a very cultivating culture where if people have ideas, they talk to each other. They do talk to professors. I remember the people that I was telling you about who started their own thing, they were every month they would go to other places, utilize the network, utilize the network that ISB has to talk to people, go to actual markets, understand the problem, understand what they're solving, if they're solving is that the right way, or how they can make that, how they can build better. So in terms of network, everyone's there to support you even when you're out of campus after college. We have certain alumni groups where everyone's in touch, and every day you see people asking for guidance, for RFCs, request for any contacts in the industries where they're trying to build. So I think it's a very cultivating culture, and again, as I said, ISB does want to be known for entrepreneurship. So it's really focusing on that.
Okay. Coming back to you and your placement in Accenture as a management consultant. How's the placement like? Was straight out of college?
Yes.
Okay. How is it like?
So ISB has this policy where in our time the placements were in December. It has basically placements are spanned out across a period of 4 days. So I remember December 5th and 6th was our day 1. So that's day 1.1 and day 1.2. And then there was, I think, 14th and 15th December, and that was day 2. That was day 2.1 and 2.2. And so these are the two major days where most of the companies come around. I remember there were around between 150 to 200 companies that came on campus across these 2 days. And then after that, there are certain people who might not get the role that they want. And because it's such a competitive space, and there's some people who might not actually get something, and then the rolling process starts where the placements that go into rolling.
Okay. I think this is a very interesting question. What are the packages like after ISB?
So for our class, it's not been made official, and I might not be the right person to comment. Last year's class, the average was, that's the CTC I'm talking about, that was around 34. I think this year it might be a bit more, I think between the range of 34 to 36. But in this market, the market was bad this year. Like, even if you come across an ABC or Kozhikode or in Indore, all of them, including ISB, we saw that the market conditions were bad, and you can get a sense check when placements are approaching. But I think all these tier 1 B schools did a very good job handling and managing the process this year in such a bad market. So yeah, I think the average would be somewhere around this, which is very good in a market like this, to be honest, where you see in the US there's so many people not getting good opportunities. in India as well, you see so many schools not being able to place their students. I feel in that school where you can get these kind of packages, it's a very healthy indicator of where that school is going.
So you mentioned about campus placements from ISB.
Yeah.
Can you guide us through the entire procedure? Like, do you need to score well to sit for placements? What's the scenario like?
Right.
Who gets preference?
So see, ISB में क्या होता है ना, there are two types of companies which might have a look at your CGPA and one which might not have a look at your grades. So let's say if that's an MBB in consulting or a Barclays or a Jeffries in finance, they will go through your grades because for them that's a filter that they put in place. I would say a lot of companies also do not focus on CGPA because obviously when you're in a school such as this, everyone's smart, right? No one judges you on the basis of how you score, but if they want to filter, they will need certain metrics, and which is obviously grades.
Okay.
If you are coming to recruit and there are, let's say, 600 people, you can't interview all 600 of them. And even if you want to scan through everyone's resumes, you will need a filter sometimes because 600 resumes is a lot. So there's certain companies that do put filters in place, and one of the major metrics is obviously CGPA.
Okay. If you were to break down in terms of percentage, which industry do people go to after ISB? सबसे ज़्यादा किस में जाते हैं, फिर किस में जाते हैं? So what is which industries are those?
See, I would see around 30-35% in consulting.
Yeah. Okay.
Another 20-25% in product. I would say there were a lot of gen man roles, general management, or the likes of ABG came on campus. Lodha came on campus for their management training program. Godrej came, Godrej Properties. So I would say another 10-15% there. Then again, you have finance, which has started to pick up really well at ISB. They're trying to get in a lot of IB jobs. A lot of first-time recruiters for investment banking came this year. So finance is picking up really well. Then again, a lot of founder office roles did come on campus. That is something that is picking up a lot of prominence. I would say around another 10-15%. And a lot of people do actually end up getting multiple offers. That wasn't with me, unfortunately, but other people I've heard some got 3 offers, some got 2 offers, and then it's a choice where you have to choose which one's best suited for you. So yeah.
Okay. You started this discussion by saying you want to do an MBA because there are certain things that you noticed in people who had done an MBA in the job prior to you doing an MBA, which was in Deloitte, and they had some skills, had some sense of business. They had some skills that were allowing them to probably outshine in the work area and then climb up the ladder quickly. We also see that MBA allows people to have more decision-making roles than just technical roles.
Correct.
So you understand business and finance at large, and you're able to decide, right, for the business. Now that you have graduated from ISB, how is your life like? I mean, in the job, do you think you get opportunities to take decisions, or do you understand business better than before and stuff like that?
Right. See, 100%. While I was working before, I was more in the technical side, and by technical I mean maybe hardcore data analysis. I was working on all these tools of Tableau, Power BI. I was primarily a data analyst. People who are maybe software engineers or even lawyers who are into hardcore law, right? Who are going through research papers, who are doing all of that stuff. What ISB or any other MBA institute would give you is a lot of focus on business. It would build that intuition, build that mindset where you can look at things from a larger perspective, where you can have a bird's eye view rather than focusing too deep on one aspect. So I think again one that changed for me is I've focused more on the business aspect. I'm focusing more on what the end product would be, how would this help the company, rather than, let's say, picking up a task. I am now focused on how this task is going to add value to whoever I'm working for. Right? How will I be able to add value? What will this task do? How will this help the company? What is the problem that I'm trying to solve? And all of these are things that you build intuitively, and this is a very business specific use case. So I think it shifts you from a tech perspective to a very business or a strategy oriented perspective.
Okay. Last segment. How to crack ISB from somebody who has cracked the GMAT, cracked the ISB, and gotten into management consulting. Over to you.
The first things first is ISB needs a GMAT, the GRE. I would ask you to focus on that first. Where you're going in and you get a good score, you understand how the whole test is conducted, you get your basics right, ये sections होते हैं, इतना time होता है, you get that, you enroll with let's say a top 1%, you talk to the faculty on how do you start things with, you get one of the courses, and I think first 5-6 months initially एक चीज़ पे focus करो where that's a GMAT. ISB will always be there in the background, but then put your focus on GMAT getting a good score. That's what I did. Once I had a good score, I focused on other aspects of my profile. Volunteering का क्या काम है, the kind of work that I'm doing in Deloitte. I wanted to create a niche for myself there as well that I can put out to the AdCom कि मैंने ये किया है. So you build your profile according to you feel you will have the strongest chance at ISB. You network with alums to understand उनकी क्या journey रही है, what helped them, what did not help them, and honestly you learn from other people's mistakes or other people how they could have, what could they have done differently. That's about getting into ISB or any of your dream schools. Just focus on that, and once you're at a B school, I think my focus was more on what am I going to learn in class and outside of class. ISB has these ELBs where you work in an industry for 2-3 months on campus, but with some company, organization. I was involved in a few clubs. I had a position of responsibility. I did a few case competitions in the e-commerce in space because I wanted to understand more about that. So yeah, I mean that's that. There are certain things that you do to get you to places and you focus on them.
Aseem, this has been great. Wonderful. I am 100% sure that जिसने भी ये सुना होगा and whichever stage they are in their preparation for MBA, they would have found this extremely useful and beneficial. Thanks for coming, thanks for joining, and thanks for sharing your story.
Thank you. I had a great time.
That's great to know. Thank you.
Perfect.